App Builder supports data binding to any RESTful API. This means that you can define OpenAPI specifications in your .NET or Java backend and use that definition through Swagger UI to connect to the App Builder data sources dialog. Once you connect to the data sources dialog, you can select APIs, you can select endpoints, enter parameters, enter security, and even test those endpoints, and ultimately bind your cloud service data to data-bound controls in the App Builder. Let's take a look and see how this works. Here I am in a Swagger UI definition based off of the Northwind database. So Swagger UI is essentially a user interface or a visualizer in front of your API endpoints. In this case, I used the Northwind database. I created a web API using Visual Studio, and I deployed that to Azure along with my database. So this is the URL for where my Swagger definition lives. The actual JSON that makes up the Swagger definition is in the web page that's auto-generated by Visual Studio. So you can see here it's just a JSON schema. It has the name of the API, any parameters it might need, responses, etc. But the nice thing is you do get this nice definition of what it looks like. So for example, if I select customers, I can see the customer schema, the related tables to customers based on the primary and foreign key definitions in the Swagger definition. And if I want to try it out, I just click try it out. I click execute, and it will display the data from that API call. And you can see what API call it actually sent across. So for example, if I just copy this, I go to a new page, I paste this in, I hit enter, you can see the data coming back from the cloud. So how do we use this inside of the App Builder? All we need is the URL to the OpenAPI definition, which is the /swagger /v1 or whatever version your API is, swagger.json. So I am going to copy that. I'm going to go over to App Builder. And inside the App Builder, I'm going to click New App. I'm just going to create a blank page. And the first thing that I'm going to do once I'm in the App Builder is go to the Data tab. It already happens to be selected. I am going to click the plus sign. I'm going to select REST API. We have a few options here. I'm going to change this to Win Cloud Demo. I'm going to say OpenAPI. I'm going to add a URL. You could also just upload the JSON file if it's local, because that's always going to point to the server. So here I'm just going to upload the URL. And I'm going to say done. Now what this does is we inspect it and we essentially say, hey, this is good to go. So let's click configure endpoints, and you can see that all of the endpoints that were available in my Swagger UI are also available in the App Builder. What the App Builder allows you to do is to select an endpoint, and when you select it, it actually tests it to make sure it works. The nice thing is if I was disconnected, since the schema is available in the Swagger definition, we will automatically generate mock data for you. In this case, I'm connected to the internet, so I don't need that mock data, but you can see if I click view details, I can see what data came back. So everything came back successfully like I would have expected. If I scroll down, you'll see that there are some APIs with parameters like API customer order history. So if I type in ALFKI for ALFKI and I send this, it will test it with the parameter and it will return data for that parameter. So we support parameterized queries, stored procedures. It really doesn't matter. If I select this guy now, it'll be available to me in my data chooser. If I had to enter any authorization tokens or keys, I could click this link and I would be able to do it. But you can see that it says in the schema that I don't need authorization, so there's nothing for me to do. So in this case, I'm going to hit select data. And now what I can do here is actually select the fields that I want to be available to me in the App Builder. I'm going to say select all there. I'll say select all here, and I'll just click done. So now over in the data tab, I've got my Northwind Cloud app, and if I select it, I can see the APIs and fields that are available to me. So what I'm going to do here is I could pick a layout to lay out some screens, but I'm really just going to hit Control E. I'm going to select grid, and let's set this grid up to 100% and 100%. And what I want to do is bind it now to data from the Northwind Cloud app. So when it's property windows here, I'm going to go down to Northwind Cloud app. I'm going to select customers, and there we go. I've got my grid connected to real data. If I want to add some additional features to this grid, we can do that, like the toolbar, exporting. Let's add grouping, hiding, moving, pinning, resizing. So I can just add a few more features. And the other thing I want to do is change it to the dark theme. Now if I preview this, you'll see that my grid is here with all of the data. If I go to the TypeScript, you'll see, if I move this over a bit, that this is actually bound to my Northwind Cloud service. I'm subscribing to the service on the initialization of this page, and that's what's getting loaded into the grid. And if we move this over to the right, you can see that my grid is fully interactive. So all of the features that were enabled, like grouping and selecting and pinning and things like that, they're all available to me right here inside of the interactive preview. So in a couple simple steps, you can connect to a Swagger UI and the app builder binding to real cloud data. To get more great videos like this to learn how to use the app builder and other Infragistics tools, click the subscribe button to get a notification when we post new content.